From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight, Sam Donaldson.
Good evening. It was 5 years ago today that Associated Press correspondent Terry Anderson, driving home from a morning tennis game in Beirut, Lebanon, was pulled out of his car and swallowed up into captivity. 5 years ago today. In Washington, friends and colleagues gathered in Lafayette Park across from the White House to remember the anniversary. Father Lawrence Jenko, himself a former hostage, placed a flower by the names of hostages who died during captivity. Among those looking on, Peggy Say, Anderson's sister, who has spoken out tirelessly for the release of her brother and the 17 other Western hostages being held in Lebanon. Terry Anderson is the longest held of the Western hostages. And as Charles Glass reports, while there's much talk about freedom for the hostages, there is no sign of it happening soon.
In Cyprus, Terry Anderson's daughter, Salumi, went to church. The 4.5-year-old girl lit a candle for the father she has never seen, a man who, only 170 miles across the Mediterranean Sea, today begins his 6th year as a captive. Salumi Anderson made her own appeal this evening on Lebanese television for her father's freedom.
I love you, Daddy. Come home. Please come home.
The kidnappers have never responded to appeals like this, not even when Anderson's brother and father begged to see him before they died of cancer. The last time his friends saw him, Terry Anderson was 37 years old, a first-rate and well-liked journalist. This year, he will turn 43. The Shiite Muslim gunmen in the Party of God, Hezbollah, who hold Anderson and 7 other Americans, have used him more than any other hostage to publicize their demands. A few times each year, the world sees dull photographs of Anderson, growing older, losing weight, sometimes with a beard, sometimes allowed to shave. From time to time, his kidnappers have forced him to read their words. On rare occasions, some of the words may even have been his own.
We are still here in our prisons. We will remain here until you find a solution.
Today, on a walk through Washington's cherry blossoms, President Bush insisted he is still trying to find that solution.
Keep on talking about it and keep on trying, sometimes quietly, sometimes publicly. But I will do everything I can to get those hostages out of there.
In Damascus today, former President Jimmy Carter, on a private Mideast tour, sounded hopeful.
My own conviction is that more opportunities exist now for his release than ever before. There are statements being made from Tehran that to me are encouraging.
Optimism may be out of place because the statements from Tehran are conflicting. The Iranian leaders who are calling for the release of the 17 foreigners do not control the kidnappers in Lebanon. And those who do command the kidnappers are publicly calling for some hostages to be held indefinitely and for others to be executed as spies. Charles Glass, ABC News, Damascus.
The West German government today formally denied that it had anything to do with sabotaging the Libyan plant suspected of producing chemical warfare agents. Libya suggested that Germany might have been responsible for the fire at the plant earlier this week. In Washington, John McCarthy reports that however it happened, it was a thorough job.
U.S. intelligence agents now say there was so much fire damage at the Rabda plant that it is not likely Libya will be able to resume production of chemical agents for at least a year. And without massive technical help from other countries, Libya may never be able to produce poison gas there again. One person who saw the spy satellite pictures of the plant said the scene looked like there had been a chemical meltdown. American officials are clearly delighted.
I mean, it's a darn shame what happened at Rabda this week. I am inclined to attribute it more to Libyan incompetence than anything else.
Others, of course, speculate that it was sabotage. Whatever the case, it is clear the U.S. will not be leading any major investigations.
I'm sure that the United States, as many people, including Gaddafi, is my understanding, would like to know how this happened. But is it some burning desire with us? No, it's not.
In the weeks ahead, Secretary Baker will step up the pressure on America's allies, trying to make sure that Libya stays out of the poison gas business. In the meantime, Bush administration officials admit, for once, they have quite enjoyed listening to the news out of Libya. John McWethy, ABC News, the State Department.
In a moment, the baseball lockout. It's not just the players and owners who could be hurt economically. And later in the broadcast, sharks at risk from a far more dangerous animal. And our person of the week, making certain that the rest of us never forget.
Okay, I read the research. You know what I think? I think America's getting an inferiority complex about Japan. Everything from Japan is perfect. Everything from America is lousy. Two cars come off the same assembly line in the same American plant. Japanese nameplate goes on one and American nameplate on the other, and people prefer the Japanese version. Now that's got to stop. Americans just don't understand the quality of our cars. We got to get people to wake up to the truth. Our cars are every bit as good as the Japanese. You know why? We got more airbags, we got more analog brakes, we got longer powertrain protection, we got more cars under $10,000 than any of them. And we got more performance cars and more four-wheel drives and more turbos. And who's done more about safety than we have? The truth is, we've got advantages over the Japanese in every car we make. But nobody knows it. And that's going to change.
The owners of Major League Baseball teams made a new proposal today for ending the spring training lockout. What's in it and how the union responds will determine when the baseball season opens. As ABC's John Quinones reports tonight from Cincinnati, the economic impact of a delayed opening could hurt a lot of people.
For Marge Schott, the owner of the Cincinnati Reds, the season opener is the biggest day of the year. After all, this is the town where professional baseball was born.
It's a tradition. It's like nothing else. It's almost bigger than Christmas.
Now she says it's like someone has stolen Christmas. An empty stadium means she'll lose hundreds of thousands of dollars with each canceled game.
The future of baseball here will be jeopardized if we don't get our acts together.
It is estimated that for every game canceled here at Riverfront Stadium, the city of Cincinnati stands to lose more than $1.5 million. Tradition aside, baseball means major league business for the city. It's a crucial part of its economy. Baseball benefits everyone from hotel and bar employees to souvenir vendors and security guards.
I work down there sometimes, and if I don't work, then I don't get paid.
And then there's the TV stations that broadcast the ball games. They're already scrambling to replace home runs with reruns. They'll face an even bigger loss in TV revenues if advertisers follow the lead of the Miller Brewing Company, now demanding refunds on the money it's paid for commercial time. The ball players get no sympathy from vendors like George Sechentakis.
When those people, they make millions and millions, and we try to pick up pennies in here and pennies in there, hey, that's discouraging.
It'll get even more discouraging with each day the games are delayed.
Thank you very much, and have a good day. Right. And I hope the baseball game is going to come back.
John Quinones, ABC News, Cincinnati.
In other news about the economy, reality set back in last month. Housing starts, which had shot up in January because of the warm weather, were down 7% in February to about the level they should be for this time of year. And wholesale prices showed no change at all after last month's big jump. The reaction was favorable on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrials gained 45.5 points in very heavy trading. That brought the gain for the week to nearly 58 points. Our next report is about one of those controversies at the heart of the environmental movement. What ecological price are we willing to pay for convenience? Or to put it another way, when a small beverage container is multiplied by 2 billion sold nationwide each year, does that make an impact on the environment? Here's ABC's Joe Bergantino.
Juice boxes. Those 8.5-ounce containers with a straw attached are compact, convenient, and the latest craze among kids and their moms. But in the opinion of Maine's environmentalists, these little boxes are ecological time bombs.
One of our concerns is that we shouldn't be promoting at this time the additional use of something that is a multi-material, non-recyclable type of packaging.
Last year, Maine's legislature agreed that these cartons, made from a fusion of paper, plastic, and metal, are non-recyclable, and quietly voted to be the first state to ban them starting next September. Case closed until Ed Klein came to Augusta.
We've run some tests, and
Klein represents Tetra Pak, the world's largest manufacturer of juice boxes. He is lobbying to overturn the ban.
We will be able to recycle this product.
And we will stand behind that. And we will make sure that the packages that are collected will not end up in landfills.
We would like to be part of the solution. We think that as a country, we're not recycling enough now.
To bolster his claim, Klein is showing legislators a piece of plastic wood and a particle board, both of which he says are made from recycled juice boxes. And he maintains the recycling in Maine could start immediately. But environmentalists and some lawmakers, including this legislative committee, which recently voted not to lift the upcoming ban, are still not convinced recycling is practical.
Until that industry can show us and demonstrate that they're actually recycling that packaging, then and only then would we be interested in removing the ban on that packaging.
Judy Caney and others argue that without a recycling program in place, these boxes would continue filling up Maine's landfills, already bursting at the seams and expensive to maintain. The juice box industry says it will come back with a detailed plan for recycling. How Maine's legislature resolves this debate is being closely watched by several other states. Joe Bergantino, ABC News, Augusta, Maine.
The Federal Trade Commission says it will investigate environmental claims made in advertising for a variety of products. Claims that one brand of trash bag may be biodegradable, for example, or that a hairspray won't harm the ozone layer. The FTC says it wants to be sure those claims are true. One other note, scientists have known for years that there's a hole in the ozone layer over the South Pole caused by chemical pollution. Well, today researchers said they have found a similar hole, but smaller, over the North Pole, too. In our next segment, East German communists putting on a good show 2 days before national elections.
This is what Mother Nature left us.
Plastic.
I'll bet Mother Nature didn't leave this. You're right, but plastics can be recycled into things like that bench or even fiberfill for vests like yours.
So plastics can be recycled.
Yeah. Smart companies are working on lots of ways to make good use of stuff like this. And like cream.
Hey, honey, how about those sandwiches, huh?
Okay, but I'm out of Miracle Whip.
I fold. I'm out.
I gotta go.
A sandwich just isn't a sandwich without the tangy zip of Miracle Whip salad dressing.
Not a bad bluff. I don't just dust my furniture. I give my wood the royal treatment. With Old English oil, it seals in wood's moisture to help prevent drying and cracking. Give your wood the royal treatment with Old English.
Solid things. Pride. Dedication. Andersen windows and patio doors are built to stand the test of time.
Come home to quality. Come home to Andersen.
Now for your Maalox Moments breakthrough news. A big splash of cherry and a burst of mint. New Cherry Cream and Mint Cream Extra Strength Maalox Plus. Now the strongest antacid has terrific new tastes. Strong relief for all your Maalox Moments.
History will be made in East Germany this weekend, the first free elections in the state's 40-year history. Before the wall came down, there was only one party in East Germany. Now there are 24. The communists aren't even called the communists anymore. They're the party of democratic socialism. ABC's Jerry King reports on the old guard's new look.
With the election 2 days away, Gregor Gysi knows his party is a certain loser. Yet the mood on the campaign trail today was upbeat.
Don't worry.
That campaign theme song is part of the brand new image. Stodgy hardline communism is out. Democratic socialism is in. They claim their first real election campaign has taught them humility. The good thing was we had to learn to put our arguments forward, says Gysi. We had to go to the people and listen to their arguments. Most East Germans are finding it difficult to forgive and forget the last 40 years of oppression. But these descendants of the communists do strike a responsive chord when they claim to be the new social conscience of the left. East Germans are afraid unification with West Germany will spell the end of their generous social security programs. Time and again, interim communist Prime Minister Hans Modrow and Gysi tell them, give us your support. We'll protect you. Gysi's impish sense of humor and flair for publicity have also helped change the way people look at his party. Here's how he arrived for one speech by parachute, hanging on to an instructor. Public opinion polls make the left of center SPD, the Social Democrats, the frontrunners with 33% of the vote. The Conservative Alliance, allied to West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl, about 30%. And the former Communist Party, the PDS, with 18%. Sunday's election is now expected to produce a coalition government. Jerry King, ABC News, Marzahn, East Germany.
Would you believe a downside to perestroika? Well, the State Department today warned American tourists about the dangers of visiting the Soviet Union. The advisory said they could be at risk from street crime, violent ethnic clashes, and poor health care. In our next segment, trying to protect the shark from its only natural enemy.
It's easy to get lost in a storm. You may have been lost in this one. Your medical records, your bank statements. Vital information gone in a flash because it wasn't protected. So 3M invented data cartridge technology, a unique data backup system that protects your information. Because for someone to help you, they have to be able to find you. 3M, innovation working for you.
According to the latest estimates, Earth will soon be inhabited by more than 5.2 billion people. Where will they all fit?
Neville, I thought I said no eating cookies in bed.
It's not a cookie, Mother. It's a fruit, Newton.
Oh, carry on then, carry on.
A cookie is just a cookie, but Newtons are fruit and cake.
Cynthia, you take the last fig, Newton. I'll make do with this cookie.
Not a bit of it, Charles. We'll share the Newton.
What a splendid gesture.
A cookie is just a cookie, but Newtons are fruit and cake.
Elder statesmen like myself can save 30% at Quality, Comfort, Clarion, and Sleep hotels. Who says a politician can't control spending?
Seniors save 30% by calling 800-221-2222. Restrictions apply.
For more than 60 years, we've been everybody's favorite chair.
Oh, good boy.
That $150 million communications satellite that was launched 2 days ago still isn't working, but it's no longer in danger of falling back to Earth either. Scientists today use the satellite steering rockets to nudge it into a slightly higher orbit. That gives them more time to figure out if it can be rescued. Our next report is what you might call a man-bite-shark story. There are 300 species of sharks in the world, the biggest 60 feet long and weighing 14 tons. It didn't take Jaws to tell us that they are truly terrifying creatures. But as ABC's Mike Von Fremd reports, despite all the fear they instill, the tables are turning.
For 400 million years, sharks ruled the oceans with virtually no competition. They are capable of killing every other species and had no real enemies, until now.
They're encountering a new magnificent predator out there, man, that is taking them in tremendous numbers.
Off the Florida coast last year, fishermen landed more than 5 million pounds of shark. Shark meat, skins, and fins are bringing top dollar. While Americans have a new fondness for eating shark, the main reason fishermen are going after them is the near insatiable demand in Asia for shark fins. In fact, some fishermen even throw away the rest of the shark. The Chinese use the fins to make shark fin soup, which they believe is good for their health. Hong Kong importers pay up to $25 a pound for the fins, and fishermen around the world are cashing in.
We've been overfishing for a lot of years, and if we don't correct the situation, we will have a collapse. It'll be many, many years before we'll ever be able to land sharks again.
The shark population cannot sustain such intense fishing because the species is slow to reproduce. Unlike other fish, which are capable of producing thousands of offspring every year, sharks average only a dozen offspring every other year, and they take more than a decade to mature. So, the National Marine Fisheries Service is implementing nationwide regulations that are expected to cut in half the number of sharks caught in U.S. waters. Commercial fishermen are angry.
This is a pretty draconian measure that the government's come up with.
Basically, it means to us that we'll be closed down for 6 months of the year, and we cannot afford to tie our boats up for that time period.
But sharks are also popular with sport fishermen who applaud the government's efforts.
I mean, the shark population in the Gulf of Mexico is down so drastic that if my boat sank 50 miles offshore and I had a deep cut in my leg, I could probably make it to shore and not be bothered.
In trying to preserve the shark population, the United States is following the lead of Australia, New Zealand, and Great Britain. But other big shark fishing nations like Mexico are not going along. The shark, which has managed to adapt to every challenge over the centuries, may not be able to adapt to the ultimate predator. Mike Von Fremd, ABC News, Longboat Key, Florida.
Former All-American football star Tom Harmon has died in Los Angeles of a heart attack. Known as Old 98 in his playing days at the University of Michigan, Harmon won the Heisman Trophy in 1940. After World War II, he began a long career as a sports broadcaster. Tom Harmon was 70. We'll be back in a moment.
World News Tonight with Peter Jennings and the Person of the Week are brought to you by Citicorp.
You can see the dream of success in the eyes of people all across America. At Citicorp, we understand the dream. That's why, as Citicorp and Citibank, we've become America's largest financial services organization, already helping 1 in every 5 American families, with more home mortgages, more student loans, more MasterCard and Visa cards than any other company. We'd like you to get to know us better. Citicorp, because Americans want to succeed, not just survive.
Ever since Unisom, people have abandoned their old sleep medicine. Medical tests prove people fall asleep faster and sleep better all night with Unisom than without. Take Unisom for faster, better sleep.
Millions of people in the prime of their lives have used Bengay to help relieve minor arthritis pain. You've just been looking at 2 of them. Bengay, relieving arthritis pain for nearly a century.
To protect the lives of firefighters, DuPont developed a remarkable fire-resistant fiber for their clothing called Nomex. But perhaps even more remarkable is how it protects those who never even wear it. At DuPont, we make the things that make a difference.
Tonight, Brian Gumble, a no-holds-barred interview with Barbara Walters.
Why don't you tell us the story of Deborah Norville and Jane Pauley?
Plus, Tom Cruise played it. He lived it. Born on the 4th of July, the real Ron Kovic on 2020 tonight.
And finally this evening, our Person of the Week. Few people are as dedicated or as single-minded as she has been these last 5 years. Sometimes individuals can accomplish what institutions and governments cannot. Sometimes they can only try. Today, on the 5th anniversary of her personal crusade, while she has hope, her goal is still elusive, but not for lack of incredible effort.
There is simply not a choice for me, nor has there ever been. I've done the moral thing, and I have called and continue to call on America to do the moral thing. Thank you. Okay.
Peggy Say has made us all remember the cause of her brother Terry Anderson and the others taken hostage in Lebanon, chiding and goading anyone who would listen so that those unfortunate men would not be forgotten.
My special thanks and love to my sister Peggy.
My brother has spent 5 years of his life living in his own filth, chained to a wall. We have watched the grossest abuse. We have listened to and we have seen our fellow Americans die. We have seen them plead for their lives. And the most gross spectacle of all, we saw Colonel Higgins swinging from a noose, and we did not protest.
Touch those who hold our loved ones captive, Lord.
The prayer vigils and news conferences and television appearances and numerous meetings with world leaders all brought the same message. Don't forget the hostages. It has become her obsession. When some of her neighbors in her hometown of Batavia, New York, told her that she'd become overbearing, the Say family moved to Kentucky. But for those close to the hostages, Peggy Say is pure inspiration. Father Martin Jenko was released from captivity in 1986.
Peggy has been the spokesperson for the hostage families. She's been the support person for the hostage families. And she's the one that kept a promise that I made alive to Terry, that he would not be forgotten.
Before her brother was captured 5 years ago today, Peggy Say was a social worker, teaching migrant workers to read. But not that or anything else in her past had prepared her for the ordeal she was about to encounter. When she wasn't out stumping for Terry's release, she was sitting near the telephone or the television, waiting.
There may be a videotape, there may be a death threat, there may be a rumor that they're coming out, and you put your life aside, and you talk to the media, and you beg, and you cry, and you plead, and you hope to God that the next time you turn on the television, it's not going to be your brother hanging.
Today, another prayer vigil, another interview, another meeting. Her own family has willingly taken a back seat.
5 years is a terrible amount of time. From 37 to 42. Those are years Terry Anderson will never get back. I have seen his daughter born and ready to start school, and he has not. I've seen his elder daughter as a 9-year-old child mature into a teenager. Who can give that back to Terry?
And Peggy Say has matured a bit herself since Terry's capture, and since their father and brother both died of cancer. Listen.
4 years ago, when I listened to my father and brother die begging to see him one more time, I would have handed over nuclear weapons if I had them. But today, if they said to me, for $10 million, you can have your brother, I would not pay a dime. We have paid 5 years in pain and suffering.
What Peggy Say will do is remain a gadfly to the world's conscience and keep it focused on the plight of a group of men being held in Lebanon for as long as it takes.
I remember a quote from Elie Wiesel, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, in which he said, "There may be times when we are powerless to prevent injustice, but there must never come a time when we fail to protest."
And so we choose Peggy Say, who has made it her life to see to it that the rest of us never forget the hostages whose lives have been made so desperate by their captors in Lebanon. That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Sam Donaldson. For all of us here at ABC News, have a good weekend and good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News, where more Americans get their news than from any other source.
Sunday, they had the courage to confront and conquer the problems of illiteracy. Join President and Mrs. Bush and the recipients of the National Literacy Honors to be free.
Sunday, she was hired to seduce and betray a killer, Mayor Winningham, and Sex Lies and Videotapes Peter Gallagher, based on a true story, Love and Lies.
92.7 FM, KTWA, playing the music Southeast Iowa loves, 24 hours a day.
This is the third time this week John has almost been late for work. It seems he just can't leave his new mattress and box springs from New Rest Bedding. He had them built especially for his hard-to-fit bed at the New Rest factory in Laclede, Missouri. All John had to do was select the firmness he liked. What did he get in return? Superior quality steel-reinforced bedding that's second to none. And since he bought directly from the factory, he got huge savings. Come have a look around. New Rest Bedding Factory, as good as the best and better than the rest.
Here's one big reason why you should be in church next week. Your children. Whatever their ages, there's so much they can learn in church about life and love and positive values, about families and faith and hope that only God can give. So bring your children to church. You might learn something too.